Do you want to know the real reason why egg prices are so high? There are the obvious inflation, supply and demand, but I think you'll be shocked about the way we're handling avian flu and how it's actually costing you way more than just what you're paying at the grocery store. I also want to give you 3 things you can do to help. So I urge you to stick with me to the end because there's a lot you may not already know. Also, I had to reshoot this video because I was so angry the first time I did it. Hopefully I toned it down a bit. Hey y'all, I'm Renee and welcome to Tater Town. Here's my disclaimer. I am not a veterinarian, I'm not a virologist, and I'm not a government policymaker. However, I am a former government research scientist, member of the Air Force. I went to the Defense Acquisition University where I learned about government purchasing and contracts, and I held a top secret security clearance. I currently own livestock, to include chickens and cattle. So needless to say, this has been a very important subject for me in the past 3 years. I hope to give you information that is as accurate as I can, but it's hard to be 100% since I'm only able to rely on information that is put out by governments and manufacturers. And sometimes we as the public are not always given all the details and information on what's actually going on. And that, my friends, is not conspiracy. It is simply the nature of how things are done. Oh, and I will probably butcher a bunch of pronunciations of places and companies, so feel free to let me know if I mess up anything. So let's start at the beginning. According to the CDC, in 1996, highly pathogenic avian influenza, H5N1, that virus, or HPATH or HPAI being the acronym, is first identified in domestic waterfowl in southern China. Waterfowl meaning birds that live in or near water like ducks, geese, swans, yada yada. In 1997, H5N1 poultry outbreaks happened in China and Hong Kong, with 18 associated human cases, including 6 deaths in Hong Kong. This virus is going to go on to cause more than 860 human infections with a greater than 50% death rate in humans. Honestly, I'm partly making this video for the morons on my Facebook feed that clearly don't know how to think critically or research anything. Because talk about knee-jerk reactions to information that's flooding the media. Not that avian influenza hasn't been a thing for decades now, but I digress. In a nutshell, H5N1 has been mutating and gene swapping for the better part of the last 20 years and went from only being seen in wild birds in Asia to infecting the wild birds and poultry populations in Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. Then about 10 years ago, we started seeing the virus in the United States and Canada, which brought us to 2021, where a new H5N1 clade began infecting wild birds and poultry globally. And in just the last year in the United States, we've had 69 human infections, almost 12,000 wild birds detected, 51 jurisdictions with bird flu in wild birds and in poultry, 968 dairy herds affected, 16 states with outbreaks in dairy cows, and almost 160 million poultry affected, with no glimmer of hope whatsoever in the possibility of slowing down the spread. Whew. So now you're thinking, great, I just want cheap eggs, get to the point. Okay. Well, up to this point, the only response we've had is biosecurity, or trying to keep the virus from reaching poultry and livestock in the first place, and killing all the poultry that get sick, which is clearly not working, especially since it's being spread by migratory birds, and they are great carriers and mostly don't get sick enough to die. So the virus is still out there, mutating and spreading. And because we've depopulated so many egg-laying chickens, it takes a good 4 to 6 months for new chickens to start laying. So once a farm has lost all its productive chickens, it's taking some time to get back up and running. If only there was something we could do. Oh wait, there has been all along. Did you know that since 2002, other countries like China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Egypt, and Mexico have had a mass poultry vaccination campaign to control highly pathogenic H5 viruses? And in the last 2 years, countries like France and the Netherlands have implemented vaccines, predominantly in ducks for France, and it significantly curbed their outbreaks from 315 in the previous year to 10. Now, mind you, vaccines are not an end-all be-all. They're never perfect. And just like in humans, not all animals will have the ideal response to a vaccine. And some people would prefer not to use them. I get it. But wouldn't it at least be nice to have something more in our arsenal that we can use? I mean, what we're currently doing is, it's just not working at all. I've also been watching a lot of these farms having to depopulate their flocks on a presumptive H5N1 diagnosis. So what happens is if one chicken on the farm is thought to have H5N1, they kill all the chickens in the area, even if it turns out not to be H5N1. And yes, I get it. Most of the times it probably is. But really, wouldn't you want to wait for a confirmation before killing hundreds of thousands of birds? Not to mention, this outdated practice has not stopped the spread. And it hasn't even stopped humans from getting it because, duh, it's being spread by wild birds. So great, kill all the poultry, even the ones who may have survived and developed immunity, and replace them with just as vulnerable chickens that are still susceptible to wild bird transmission. As a scientist, I'm really at a loss and quite baffled at this point. I gotta be honest, if I have a sick chicken and it's presumed to be H5N1 but not confirmed, I hope that everyone understands that I will not let all my chickens be euthanized without a legal fight, and maybe a physical fight too. I'm definitely not saying I would hurt anybody, but I would make it a challenge for them. If you're interested, there's a legal battle going on right now in Canada with a flock of, I believe, 400 ostriches. It's not over, but someone with a brain actually stopped the kill order since only 10% of the flock died and the rest are exhibiting herd immunity. I mean, what a brilliant opportunity to study this thing. But no, let's just kill them all. Idiots. Now for the worst part. The United States has access to these poultry vaccines. Now, again, I understand using the word vaccine nowadays can get you tarred and feathered depending on what side you're on. Personally, I appreciate both sides of the argument, but hear me out on this one. In 2001, 2002, I mean close to 25 years ago, after the first detection of the virus, the animal health company Zoetis started developing an H5N1 vaccine and received a conditional license in 2016. The USDA then bought those vaccines for a national veterinary stockpile following that year's outbreak. Then in 2022, with the new strain emerging, Zoetis updated their vaccine, and in 2023, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service used it to help protect California condors. Oh, and they have another vaccine for H5N1 that is used in other countries, including New Zealand. So why exactly haven't we used it in the United States? I mean, we vaccinate against other poultry viruses. Well, I can tell you it's not because of a health issue or a health risk, but it's a trade issue. Follow me on this. The U.S. poultry industry doesn't want to vaccinate their birds because of the impact it would have on their $6 billion poultry export market. Basically, there are countries that import poultry meat from the United States, and they will only accept meat that is bird flu free. And when you vaccinate a bird, it will test positive, and you can't differentiate if the bird has had an actual infection or the vaccine, though I have heard that work is being done on a better test. In other words, if the U.S. poultry meat industry were to vaccinate their birds, those other countries would refuse to purchase meat from them. And the National Chicken Council stated that protecting these trade relationships was the primary reason for opposing the vaccine. So now you have an industry that is prioritizing economic risks over public health risks. And on top of that, the USDA subsidizes these poultry companies when they have outbreaks. So what does that mean in plain English? That means that when one of these companies has an outbreak and all their chickens are killed, you and me, we're the ones footing the bill just so they can keep their trade relations going with these other countries. It doesn't make any sense, does it? Because now you're not only paying for their losses with your tax dollars, you're also having a hard time finding meat and eggs. And when you do, it's costing you more at the store. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. I am cautiously optimistic that the previous way of doing things is changing. Zoetis once again has received a conditional license for their H5N1 vaccine in the United States. And I've read several articles that the current USDA administration plans to roll out new measures this week to combat H5N1. We shall see. But we can all do some things to help. And here's 3 things you can do. First, I urge you to contact your local representatives, but you've got to be specific. Tell them you want the USDA to allow vaccines for poultry companies, large or small, and that includes backyard flock owners that want it, or make it mandatory, at least for the major companies. And if it's not mandatory, and if a major egg producing or meat producing company chooses not to use it, then they shouldn't receive taxpayer subsidies for preventable losses, because they will be preventable at this point. Second, regardless of whether you are against vaccinating your food, tell that same representative that the needless killing of all the poultry needs to stop. Only euthanize if it's a definitive case of H5N1 and only if the bird is beyond survival. I mean, most poultry will die from the disease very fast, but for crying out loud, don't kill the bird if it can survive. Maybe it's more of a challenge, but then you'll have chickens that have developed resistance to the virus. Third, and most important, buy your eggs and meat from local farmers if and when you can. You'll get a better quality product from people who are a part of and care about their community. And maybe we can slowly get away from this factory farm model that really holds all of us hostage to their practices. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this video. Please let me know in the comments what you think. Did you know that this was going on? Or is this info new to you? I know it's a hot button topic for some people, so I really am interested in your take. And thanks again for taking the time to listen and for joining me here on Tater Town.
And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you can see more videos that will help you do those things you never thought you could.